Thank you so much for the warm welcome. It's so nice to be here. As Farzana said, I'm a PhD candidate at the University of New South Wales studying climate science. And today I'd like to share a little bit about my data science journey, which I think was a bit squiggly, to be honest. Um, so um, I actually went into climate science based on a very specific event that occurred in my life when I was um, quite young. Before the age of 12, I experienced two catastrophic Category 5 hurricanes that hit my hometown, which was a small rural community in southern Alabama in the US on the Gulf of Mexico. So in 2004, Hurricane Ivan, which was a Category 3 at landfall, but Category 5 before that, went right over my hometown. And while I think it's many climate scientists' dream to see the eye of a hurricane, and it was incredibly cool, it was also incredibly destructive and quite devastating. And then not even a year later, Hurricane Katrina happened, which I'm sure many of y'all have heard about and are familiar with. And while Hurricane Katrina didn't hit my community exactly, it hit New Orleans, which was quite close. And my community was still very strongly impacted, not just in terms of infrastructure in the electricity. My sister, my dad, and I didn't have electricity for at least 2 weeks, and we're eating these military meal ready to eat MREs for about 2 weeks. But we also saw a lot of displacement. So my classrooms when I was younger all of a sudden got a lot more crowded. A lot of my friends were also displaced because they had to move. And so it was just a very, I think, pivotal moment in my life, experiencing these two things that I think really sparked an interest in atmospheric science and extreme weather events, particularly. And so how did I get from that to climate science? Well, before I experienced the hurricanes, there is some early photogenic evidence from my kindergarten yearbook that suggests I was already a blossoming weather weenie before I could even read. I'd like to share a little bit about how I got from there to just last month presenting at the Australian Meteorological and Oceanography Society in Canberra. So I don't have time to do this full path justice, but I'd like to start by saying that while it looks very linear, I've tried to include a few little sad faces that show that it was actually quite stressful and not as linear as this would show. So I went to Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University after high school with the dreams of learning how to fly and study meteorology so that I could fly airplanes into hurricanes. But I actually almost had to leave after my first semester because I failed my calculus course and I had to drop physics and I was at risk of losing my scholarship. But I went back and actually had a phenomenal um, female calculus teacher my next semester. And I will never forget that I got a perfect score on my first test, and I had to run out of the room and call my dad after because I was so excited with the the transition that happened. But while I was pursuing my bachelor's degree, I completed two internships at NASA where they use NASA Earth observation data or NASA satellite data to essentially inform real world decision making. And we had community partners, and it was such a transformational experience for me that really showed me how I can use science to help my community. And that experience has really resonated with me going forward. And now, even over 10 years later, since I finished my bachelor's degree, I still have that philosophy that science is my tool for helping society, and it's my way to contribute to uh, the world. After I finished my bachelor's degree, I had a phenomenal post-bachelor's research assistantship at Oak Ridge National Lab, where I got to work with all of these really brilliant scientists studying extreme weather and climate events. including a Nobel laureate who I think is actually online at a very late time in Tennessee right now. So thank you, Dell, for joining and for your mentorship. And that was also just a really incredible internship and research experience because, again, I got to see how research and government works, and then again, what science information is useful for decision makers and policy. After completing that post-bachelor's research assistantship, I went to the University of Texas at Austin to actually pursue a PhD, but I ended up leaving with my master's degree after 2 years for a whole host of reasons I can't do justice here. But long story short, it just wasn't a great fit for me. And again, I realized that just because I find something interesting within science, it doesn't mean it's what's going to really drive me. And it was a really good learning experience personally for me that the science that I do really has to have real world application. I don't work very well in the theoretical space. I really thrive when I have a real world problem or decision that I'm applying my science to. So again, a bit of a gap between finishing my master's degree and then earning a really cool internship at NASA, where I was working on NASA's largest rocket ship to date, the Space Launch System. And it was a really, really interesting and just fascinating experience. I got to learn a lot again about data quality control, how science can inform engineering parameterizations. But I realized I was kind of living somebody else's dream, and I wasn't, helping my community and helping society the way that I wanted to. And so from there, I went back to Oak Ridge National Lab for about 2.5 years. And while I was there, I realized I really wanted to work in climate adaptation in the climate adaptation space. And the PhD here at UNSW actually found me, I think. I had told some of my undergraduate professors that I was thinking about going back for my PhD, and they sent me an advertisement for a PhD here. I applied for it and I got it. And so I think the universe put me where I was supposed to be. Saying that, COVID happened right when I was supposed to start. So again, that brought a whole host of challenges as well that I know many of us experienced. So now, what am I doing? First, Lana, you did a great job summarizing my PhD research. And essentially, I study rainfall across Australia. I think a picture says 1,000 words. Specifically, I look at how high resolution climate models simulate different aspects of rainfall so we can select the best data and improve confidence in the data that we're using to inform decision making in our communities and in our policies and things like that. I also take every opportunity I can to participate in science communication, outreach, and teaching. Outreach and teaching are incredibly important to me. For reasons I mentioned during my undergraduate degree, I think it's really important since I struggled so much and felt that the fact that I wasn't very good at math and the fact that I wasn't very good at coding for the longest time were obstacles that I thought were going to prevent me from becoming a climate scientist and a data scientist. I really like to give a lot back and do everything I can, take every opportunity I can to make sure that other students, other young scientists don't feel that way and have, a wide variety of different materials and different ways these topics are being taught to them. And I'd like to just end not with a message particularly, but really just to celebrate and acknowledge all of the women that have helped me, overcome all of the obstacles and challenges and struggles and have motivated me and inspired me and helped me to become a more confident and I guess more eloquent and just better scientist and stronger woman. Starting with my 3 PhD supervisors, I'm incredibly lucky that I have an all-female supervisory committee, and they are just absolutely phenomenal, and I could talk about them all day. But starting with them and going all the way back to my high school teachers as well, that inspired me, I think, just by being themselves and just by being visible. And then all of my science sisters that have come in between. And so, thank you so much for your time and for joining.